Hello and welcome. In this video, we will analyze cantatas number 59 and 74 and see how Bach constructed these multi-movement works and how he planned his tempos. So cantata number 59 was composed in either 1723 or 1724. I think it's not known, or the last time I looked it up, it wasn't known. Composed it for Whit Sunday. Cantata number 59 consists of 4 movements. It's a very short cantata, probably the shortest cantata of all of Bach's cantatas, or one of them at least. It's very atypical that you'll see the durations only adding up to about 9 minutes. That's very short for a Bach cantata. Anyway, Bach organized this cantata according to pairs here. So what he did was he paired the opening duet, it's a soprano and bass duet. He gave it 61 measures, gave it this tempo, and with this many measures at this tempo, it lasts just under 3 minutes, 2:54. So rounding it off to 3 minutes, that's a 3.2% margin of error. Now, the soprano recitative that comes next is a slower tempo, and at its natural tempo of 48, it lasts just under 2 minutes. So that's a 4.2% margin of error. That's actually pretty large. Those are large margins of error for Bach. Anyway, we can see that these round off pretty much to 3 minutes and 2 minutes, 3 and 2. A 3-2 duration ratio. And then movement number 3 is a chorale. And then movement number 4 is a bass aria. And at their natural tempos, 84 to 63 is 4 to 3. These relate 1 to 2, exactly. So you can see that Bach planned, I believe that Bach planned 28 measures and 42 measures, and he achieved 28 measures and 42 measures. Here in the first pair, he planned 63, achieved 61. He planned 24 and achieved 23. But in these, he got it perfect. So to summarize cantata number 59, it simply consists of 2 pairs, 2 duration pairs, one relating 3 to 2, and the other relating 1 to 2. Because 120 is, of course, half of 240. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Cantata number 74 was composed in 1725. So it was composed either 1 or 2 years after cantata number 59, of course, for Whit Sunday. So he was simply, what Bach did here is he used, and I'll explain this, he used the first and the fourth movements from this cantata to be the first and the second movements in cantata number 74. So this chorus and this aria right here are the same as this duet and this aria right here. So this is 4/4, 61 measures, tempo 84. 4/4, 61 measures, tempo 84. So he didn't change anything. The bass aria here is 4/4, 42 measures, 63 is the tempo. And then the aria here is 4/4, 42 measures, and quarter note is 63. But do you see a difference? This is a bass aria, and this is a soprano aria. So he simply used the same music, but changed the solo. Quite honestly, I don't even know if it's the same text or not. Probably, but that's not even important right now, because the only thing that we're worried about is that this and this are the same as this and this. Now, when I first started this theory, way back in the mid-90s, I thought to myself, well, how can I test all this? What's the best way of testing this to see if it's not just coincidental? And I came to the conclusion that the best way to test this is by taking two such works like this, where he reused movements in the next work, like here, and then see whether it relates to the other new movements in this cantata. If they have very accurate relationships, then it's probably not coincidental. However, if these movements are used here at the same tempos, and it sort of just wreaks havoc on our order here, then that would probably indicate that something is coincidental and that he didn't really plan it that way. But that's not the case at all, because what happened was this. It's fascinating. Bach opened this cantata with a previously composed movement here, which he used from cantata number 59. And look at what he did. Okay, look carefully at these numbers here. He has 61 measures. So what is 61? What are the number of beats in this? Well, the number of beats is you simply go 61 times 4. So 61 times 4 is 244. So he has 244 beats in this chorus. Well, look down a little bit on the chart. This alto aria, movement number 7, consists of 244 measures. So the first movement has 244 beats, and the 7th movement has 244 measures. That could be a beat if you consider one measure to be one beat. I put the tempo on the 8th note. So each measure here has 3 beats. So it doesn't matter. It just depends on which way you look at it. The dotted quarter here equals 42, or the 8th equals 126. Whichever way you do it, still, it's going to boil down to an exact ratio. Do you see the 0.0% here? 0.0% here. This means that Bach achieved a 1-2 duration ratio between the first and the 7th movements exactly, with no margin of error. He did that by when he reused this movement from 1 or 2 years previously, the first thing he did was he counted the number of beats. He used this movement. He said, okay, there's 61 measures. There's 4 beats per measure, therefore it has 244 beats. Then he planned the 7th movement, not the 2nd movement. He planned the 7th movement to relate to that, which provides a 1-2 duration ratio exact. In other words, at its tempo, it's its natural tempo, the first movement lasts 2 minutes and 54 seconds. At its natural tempo here, the 7th movement, the alto aria, lasts 5 minutes and 48 seconds. 254 is exactly half of 548. So when I see this tells me that it's not a coincidence, that Bach planned that, because that couldn't have possibly been coincidental here. So you can see that Bach preferred, or he does this very often, is he takes first movements and last movements. That's the last major movement. That's a chorale. We don't include that one. But he took the major movements here are 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. So 1 relates to 7. Movement 1, movement 7, 1-2 ratio. Then what he did was he took the 2nd movement, which came from this cantata. He used that here, did whatever he needed to do with the changing the singer and everything, but he did not alter the number of measures or the tempo. That was all set. So in doing that, he figured out that this lasts 2 2/3 minutes. I don't know whether he used decimals or fractions, but he knew that this one lasts 2 2/3 minutes from his relationship that he set up in this cantata here. So he had that movement set, and then the fourth and fifth movements were newly composed, the bass aria and tenor aria. So what he did here was he planned the bass aria. Actually, the bass aria performed at its natural tempo, and the tenor aria performed at its natural tempo, lead to these durations, 251 and 514. It's sort of odd durations. Well, when you sort of round them off, if you round this off to 240 and round this off to 520, it's very close. You have 240 and 520. You have a 1-to-2 ratio. Not only that, but you have equal durations between this previously composed movement and this newly composed movement. So you see a 1-1-2 duration ratio between the second, the fourth, and the fifth movements. So to summarize, Bach composed this cantata number 59, in either 7/23 or 24. It has 2 duration pairs. Then he used 2 of these movements for the first 2 movements here. He used the first movement to determine the length of the 7th movement, which is 1-to-2. And then he used the second movement to determine the lengths of the 4th and 5th movements, which are newly composed. And that all shows a 1-1-2 duration ratio. So the whole entire cantata between its major movements only consists of 1-2 duration ratios. This is the kind of procedure that Bach used in all of his works. It's most easily seen, I think, in his cantatas because I think that the tempos were linked to the general affects and also the text. That's why I think analyzing cantatas is easier than analyzing, say, keyboard music, because there are lots of different interpretations for keyboard music. Anyway, with that being said, this is what Bach did, and I hope that you found this interesting. Stay tuned for more videos like this in this series.